After Blade's admission to the academy, he thinks that he can quickly fit right in since he is a quote-unquote ordinary person. The other students notice him but they don't know who he is. Blade notices and marches like a soldier towards them. He introduces himself to Claire and her classmates, and tells his goal is to make friends in the academy. They laugh at Blade's unusual goal since the academy was created to train heroes to protect the world from the Demon King, and usually not to make friends. His classmates tell Blade that they must prepare for the Demon King's awakening just in case. After getting to know each other, they introduce themselves. Their names are Kasim, Clay, and Jessica. They hope to get along with Blade. He then shakes their hand excitedly. Then Arnest interrupts their friend-making. Blade's friends are scared of the Empress Arnest Flaming, due to her being the highest rank and her prestigious status. Arnest asks them to stop making a fuss in the hallway and that they should always be disciplined. Blade introduces himself again.
Shut the fuck up! Shut up!
Back to the scene, Arnest glares at Blade in an unfriendly way. Claire tells them to stop since Blade is just a clueless transfer student. Arnest tells that Blade must have enrolled using some weird methods and unmotivated people with stupid goals could not possibly belong in Rosewood. Blade refutes, telling her that he is motivated to make friends in the academy. She gets angry and throws a punch at Blade, and he dodges it with ease. His classmates are amazed at Blade's reflexes. After that confrontation, he asks Arnest to guide him to the headmaster's office. In front of an elegant door, Arnest knocks the door due to an issue. The headmaster tells them to get inside, and they surprisingly meet His Majesty or the King. The King had already replaced their previous headmaster. Blade greets him nonchalantly. Arnest tells him to bow down and respect him. The King tells Arnest that she's an exceptional student as told by the previous headmaster. She plays with her hair after receiving the compliment. Blade gives her a weird stare. Arnest keeps babbling on and gets interrupted by the King. He tells her to leave the office right now since he has something to discuss with Blade. She left the office irritated, wondering what the King could be talking about with Blade. She remembers the time where Blade dodges her punch. Arnest thinks it was just a coincidence, and sooner or later he would give up. After a few days later, Blade meets with Arnest again in the advanced training class. She was confused on how he got in class. He tells her that he already advanced from rank C to A. She doesn't believe Blade and calls him out for using dirty methods to advance through the ranks fast. Blade calls out to his classmates introducing himself, while Arnest is still calling him out hoping to listen to her. He pats her on the head telling her that he was listening the whole time. Arnest blushes and swings her sword at Blade but he dodges. He was confused on why she swung her sword at him. Since Blade thought that friends could pat each other on the head, after all he knows her name so he assumed that they are friends. A classmate in a cloak steps in, calling for them since the instructor calls for both of their presence. He introduces himself to the girl, and Arnest tells her that he wants to know your name. The girl replies if it's an order. Arnest tells her it's because of various reasons, and just like that the girl introduces herself as Sophie. After getting to know other classmates, Arnest requests the instructor if they could test Blade if he fits in the ranks. The professor denies her request because it's currently not the lesson. But Arnest glares at the professor asking if it's alright and they get to an agreement. She throws a sheathed sword at Blade, asking him to destroy an armor made with magic steel. If he can't do it then Arnest wishes for him to withdraw in the class. He accepts the challenge and readies his blade. He then asks how many dimensions different. I don't know what this means. Arnest tells him to do 3 dimensions. Blade channels up his energy and uses his skill called Dragon Eater which can only be used by dragon slayers. The target gets destroyed. The whole field shakes, and a massive explosion easily destroys the gigantic wall hitting a few structures with its collateral damage. Arnest stood confused. A flashback shows the headmaster telling Blade that he wants him to regain his powers back, but he refuses. The headmaster asks him what's the problem and if it's about the school. Blade tells him that it's not it. The headmaster clarifies that he wants to change the curriculum and the methods of the academy, because at this rate only the heroes with excellent capabilities will get stronger while the rest gets left out. Blade implies that he wants to be a normal person, wants to make 100 friends, and doesn't want any more powers. The headmaster doesn't believe him and tells him that no matter what he does he will get his power back, since Blade is the hero after all. Back to the present, Blade swings his sword and it crumbles in half. He looks back and sees that everyone is stunned. His classmates raise their suspicion that Blade isn't really an ordinary person. After that day, Blade was peacefully eating his lunch when suddenly Ernest interrupts him by questioning his identity. He replies that he is just a normal person. He notices his classmates and calls them out to join him, but Ernest glares at them, scaring them away. She was in a foul mood sitting right in front of Blade. He is concerned for Ernest if she is being bullied, and she tells him that he's just an idiot, but putting that aside, she apologizes for all the things and provocation she has done to him. Blade confirms if she really did it. She gets mad at him for being clueless. He was grateful instead for all the things Ernest has done to help him by making friends. He smiles at her since they're both friends now. Ernest blushes and leaves him alone. After a tiring day, she recalls the previous events that happened, starting from Blade's incident at the exam grounds. It was the first time she's seen a hero skill. She was amazed that she accepted the fact that Blade wasn't a cheater after all. And another memory was seeing Blade smile calling her a friend. She blushes at the thought and is confused on what to do. Then suddenly, she looks at the sword named Asmodeus. She composes herself, gathering her thoughts about how she should always be the best and at the top for her sake of duty in the family. The sword tells her to give up everything and everything will be fine as the voices gather in her head. Ernest gets mad and ruminates, and the next day at the training grounds, a practical combat training tournament will be held by the headmaster. This is for the sake of the people aiming to be heroes. To further liven up the students, the headmaster announces that the winner will be given a right to become a disciple of the hero. Blade gets pissed that he fell right into the headmaster's palm. Ernest will be the one to handle the pairings for a fair and square fight so that everyone gets to participate. Blade was confused on why is she always the one who handles everything. A student explains to him that it's because of the school rules. The student who is at the top is the one who gets to pick the curriculum of the students. Blade asks who he is. He introduces himself as the most attractive noble known as Leonard. Everything is self-proclaimed by the way. He asks Blade if he has heard of him before. Blade disagrees and it's his first time hearing him. Ernest interrupts their conversation and tells everyone to fight with all they've got. The tournament begins. Blade wins every match and advances to the finals. He was thinking that he perfectly controlled his strength fighting like a normal person. But his classmates don't think so. After his match, it was time for Ernest versus Sophie. The battle starts and Ernest immediately dashes and swings her sword at Sophie, but she dodges it and punches straight at Ernest's sword. Blade thinks that Sophie is doing well against Ernest. Leonard explains that she's the only one who can fight on par against the Empress, but there is one flaw. It's because there's a reason Ernest is number one. After trading blows with each other, she summons a giant fireball with her sword and throws it on Sophie. A smoke covers the arena and it shows Sophie on the ground surrendering to Ernest. Blade was relieved that no one got injured in the tournament because it's just a mock tournament, but before he used to be a student. He killed a lot of people that used to confront him since he has no choice, and for the next fight will be Blade versus Ernest. Her sword Asmodeus suddenly acts up and Ernest weakens. Blade asks if she is okay but she brushes it off and still challenges him to fight. The reason why she is so eager to fight Blade is because she must always be number one and has to prove something. The sword's dark aura almost devours her and she faints. Blade quickly rushes to her aid and brings her to the nurse's office. Inside we can see Blade talking to the nurse asking what happened to her, but the nurse doesn't know the reason how and why it happened. The nurse is actually Blade's companion when he battled the Demon Lord. She's the one who saved him from dying. She tells Blade that his progress is going smoothly but he should not push himself, because if he only uses 3% of his old strength he will actually die. Blade replies that he is not gonna use it since he's a normal person. He tells the nurse to treat his white strands of hair, but the nurse refuses since there's nothing she can do since it's a result of him losing strength. Ernest wakes up after resting and wonders why she is in the nurse's office. Blade tells her it's because she fainted. She quickly moves but can't muster enough energy so she falls down again. She then asks Blade if she did something awful. Blade replies that there is none, but carrying her was pretty awful. Ernest punches him in the face and the nurse also tells her to rest. Ernest refuses and gets up. Blade tells the nurse that it's fine since he will handle the rest. After the both of them get outside the office, he tells Ernest that friends are supposed to consult each other. She gets mad since he was concerned. He sneaks to a restricted place and sees the reason for it was because of the demon sword Asmodeus. Blade asks Ernest for them to meet up with each other. Inside her room, she thinks that Blade was threatening her. But Blade doesn't care for any of that, he cares for Arnest. After hearing him say that, Arnest was bashful and kept swinging her arms. He holds her hands and tells her that he knows the secret of her sword. The reason why Asmodeus is rampant is because the owner is still weak, only drawing small portions of power. It only submits to people it recognizes. Blade then asks how she got the sword in the first place. It was because when she was 6, she wanted to get a glimpse of their family's heirloom. She then touches the sword unaware it was a demon sword. Arnest was suddenly enveloped by a dark mist. The sword was trying to take over her body, and ever since then she has been trying to control the impulses. She originally had black hair, but after getting cursed by the sword it became red. Blade tells her that she isn't controlled by the sword. Arnest knows it, but she's pretty stubborn. She proudly tells him that she will never be taken over by a demon sword as daughter of the flaming family. He then tells her that there is a way to cure the curse. She knows the method where you need to be recognized by Asmodeus as your wielder, and if it fails, she will get possessed by Asmodeus. That's why she doesn't want to do it. Blade ensures her that everything will be alright since he's her friend, and in case it fails he will be the one cutting her down. Arnest agrees to his terms. At the training ground, Arnest calls out Asmodeus to seek a contract with it. Blade tells her that it's all on her shoulders when she starts. After being shrouded in a black mist, the demon Asmodeus appears right in front of her. She tells Asmodeus to submit to her. The demon refuses. Arnest then tells the demon to make a deal that he can go crazy, but she must be able to use its power anytime she wants. Asmodeus still refuses since she's still a child. She taunts it, making it angry. Arnest gets possessed, getting ready for a rampage, and Blade readies his sword to prevent it wreaking havoc. While she falls into her consciousness, she gathers her thoughts, believing in Blade and finding her very own path. After knowing the correct thing to do, she wakes up in her own body and completes the contract with Asmodeus. Bursting a whirlpool of flame, she wins against the demon sword. Blade holds her in his arms and welcomes her back. Will Blade be able to make 100 friends just like Komi-san? Can Blade get his original strength back, or will he die trying? And lastly, will his classmates be able to find out that he is the hero? Find out next time in part 2. Roll the credits.
Thanks for staying in tune with our manga recap. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more updates from our content.